Okay, well, this is a pre-K K day, and it's, angled towards bookmaking. And, there's so many things we can think about with bookmaking. Um, so I was trying to think about the best way to narrow it down. And so what I was thinking is, there's like bookmaking that we can support kids to do independently, like maybe in like a bookmaking center or something like that. So I'm going to show you a little something that I've done with that recently. And then there's bookmaking that like can be more like, facilitated with the teacher. And so I'm going to start with a little bit of that. And so the one, of course, I think it's pretty obvious, but I'll just say it anyway. Why is bookmaking so important and also so fun? It grows their little identities as authors, right? Just early on, even if they're just, not just, I shouldn't say, but even without words, wordless picture book, like even they're just like, building their oral language development from the pictures. It's such a community builder because kids just get that energy of sharing their stories and books that they make, and baskets in the classroom of books written by the kids, become pretty much favorites. It builds content knowledge. You're working on qualities of writing, of just basic story structure, certainly, social emotional skills. We can just go on and on with the benefits. So and I think the thing is, don't be intimidated by it if you've never tried it. It's not, especially, I know we have a K in here too, but with pre-K, it's not like we're talking everything has to be whole class all the time. You can start with little clusters of kids. And I think that for me always feels less intimidating when I start with just little groups of kids. So speaking of which, I love when things are fresh for a Saturday reunion, but this literally happened on Monday. I got to spend a lot of time in pre-K at one of my schools. And so, I was talking with the teacher about like, how can we bring in some bookmaking based on what the kids were actually doing. So we were watching a group of kids in the block area. And I said, well, let's like, see the moment, as they say. So get our cameras out, start taking pictures. So what we did was let me show you my little pictures. So we got these pictures of the kids in action, and you never know what's going to come up. So you got to be ready. So like this was their first little thing they were doing, building a bridge. Okay, so they got this, like they had this tablecloth. They like took a piece of the tablecloth, that was the water, and they were building this bridge. Okay. Then, of course, as things happen, the bridge fell. So it was really hysterical. This one kid was like, we need to fix it. We're going to get the construction crew. And they had like, they were like getting that, you can see he's got the hammer in his hand, and they start fixing it and working on it. And then of course, rebuilt it. So I had these 4 pictures, right, as this was all happening. And, we were like, asking them about all of those things as they were doing it. So I said to the teacher, let's make this a book. This is a book. This is a wordless picture book. So we printed them out. And guess what? At the end of workshop, those kids came up and retold the story of what happened to them, building the blocks, falling down, getting the construction crew, rebuilding another one, who made, who had, who was going over the bridge to go where. I wish I had recorded the story, but, and listen, they needed help. They need, they needed help. Like, and then what happened? And then what happened? But what were we working on? Sequence, and how to say more. Don't just say one thing. They were like, the bridge. And we're like, well, what about the bridge? Tell us what you were doing. You know how that is. So, and that's all part of it. But they were like glowing. Glowing. They were so happy that, to show this off to the kids. And of course, seeing the teacher projected it, savvy young teachers. She had it instantly from my phone onto the screen. I was like, okay. But like, basically it was like seeing their big selves on the screen was so fun for them. So my point is, instantly we made a wordless picture book. That's bookmaking. And it's like, now they could print those out, and guess what? Put that in a basket in the block area, because now other kids are going to see ideas. Maybe kids who've never gone to the block area now want to go to the block area. A. B, it's also showing like how to tell the story of something you do. So, you know, maybe the next day the teacher in that class could go to a different center and take photos of kids doing things, you know, that they could tell the story of, which I showed this in my last group spontaneously. So now, since we're talking about the bookmaking, I should show it here. But this was kids who were, this was a different class in the same school, but they were playing going to the beach, whatever that is. So, but anyway, they had a long story of like falling asleep on the train, you know, finally getting there. And then this, I had to snap these pictures because they were hilarious. Like here he is at the beach. He certainly knows how to hang out at the beach. He's got his drink. And then this, she was at the beach with her ice cream, and then she was at her beach. And I mean, so basically that we did the same thing. The teacher printed those 3 pictures out, and those kids came up and told the story about going to the beach. So I think you're seeing my point here. Photographs, wordless picture books stapled together, voila, you got bookmaking happening. So it's like sometimes we overthink these things and like, oh gosh, how to make bookmaking. So that's one way to do bookmaking. Now I'm showing you through choice time centers from play, but anything kids are doing, you could take pictures of them as a little sequence. And you know, it could be like lining up, packing up at the end of the day, buddy reading, like all these, like almost like what do we call it, like management things or logistics around the classroom could become wordless picture books. Now I keep saying wordless picture books because that's how we used it recently, but of course kids could write words for it at the bottom. You could label things with kids. You could bring in phonics features that you want to like incorporate with letter sounds. They could even label with initial sounds and things like that. So that's one category that I think is very doable, that's fun, and that you can jump right into. Of course, I do think that is tied to your read aloud. You want to make sure you're also reading aloud wordless picture books from published authors. I think that connection is really powerful for them to see that, yeah, these are like real world books. And of course, there's so many beautiful wordless picture books out these days. And I do think it's a wonderful resource for us to read with kids, to build oral language and vocabulary, and invite, you know, kids in different places access to participating in the reading of it. Now, the other thing we did is invited kids in a little center to just make books. So it was just like baskets of different size paper and staplers and things like that. And so of course I saved 2 samples for you. So now this one cracked me up because it just shows the sign of the times. So let's see if I could. So she was busy. So first of all, what happened was I went to the table and they were all just basically drawing a picture of something. You know how that is, like they are in an art center and they're drawing. And so essentially what she first had was this. So I said, well, tell me about your picture. And she said, it's the iPad, you know, like the handles for the iPad. And no, tablet. She called it the tablet. The tablet. And you know, you can do lots of things on the tablet, like learn the letter J. And she made a letter J here. So she was like, you can learn letters. So I said, I kind of thought she was going to make a J book. So I basically said, oh, well, do you want to make a book? You know, and that's all you have to say, by the way, and you get bookmaking going, because they always say, yes, I want to make a book. So then I said, oh, well, we better get some more pages. How many pages do you think you want in your book? And she was like, oh, a few pages. And so I just had paper there, and then we stapled it together. And I said, okay, so, you know, go ahead and make your book. And so the next page, was, I mean, first of all, the thing that blew my mind is how she's connecting it to technology. That's why I took this. So this is the tablet. So then I said, so then she starts making her next page, and I wasn't even talking to her. I went to another kid. And so when I went back to her, I said, oh, what's your second page about? She said, well, you can also hold an iPhone and watch TikTok. So she's got this technology theme book, and then wait to see her last page was, I said, well, what's this? And this was the iPad. So this is the tablet, the iPhone, and the iPad. And she said on this iPad, she was drawing something here in this corner. I don't know if you can see this little triangle, but basically she was saying that this was a game that you could play on the iPad. So again, this was like, so again, like one was like taking pictures, wordless picture books that we've actually given them, but this is like they make their own book and come up with things, and they just call it bookmaking. Well, that center, of course, because I was there getting excited with everybody wanted to come make books. But so one kid after another. And then this little girl was writing about, so like, here's hers. So she actually started adding in words. So the first thing she had was, she knew how to write the word cat, and she had her cat here, and she had her name. And so that's what she was drawing. So I said, oh, it looks like you're writing about a cat. And she was like, yes. And then of course, her and I had conversations about cats, because I have 2 cats, and I had to tell her about my cats, and she was telling me about her cat. And then I said, oh, are you going to make a book too? Because again, the kids at the table were making books. And she was like, yes. And I said, okay, well, how many pages? And she wanted a lot of pages. So then she starts making this book about cats. So here she is with her cats. And then this is another cat. And then this was, she said, and this was some girl, I forget the name of it, a girl who likes cats. And then she had another cat, and then another cat, and then, another cat. So I was like, so then this was really interesting to me. She had all these pages of cats at the end. So I said, well, I saw that she knew how to write cat. So I was like, oh, are you going to write some words on your book too? Or is it going to be a wordless book? And then she wanted to write some words. So then I don't know, she jumped to this cat first. And she said, well, this is so I said, tell me about your different pages and your cats. She goes, well, this was my favorite thing of the whole thing. She goes, this was a sneaky cat. And she's like, it's almost like a ninja cat. And it's so funny because my cat, Daisy, Graham and I call her Daisy Ninja because she's like a ninja cat. So I, immediately thought that was hysterical. But anyway, she tries to write sneaky. So look how good it is. She's got this S, N, and I watched her write sneaky because she's telling me sneaky cat. So she only had cat here. I said, oh, well, you could write sneaky so people know this is sneaky cat. And so she wrote the S and the N. And then I said, well, say the word again. Do you hear anything else? And she heard the C then. And then she went back and put the C in. So she's like gesturing. This is a pre-K. So like she's really gesturing towards some of that development of spelling. And then she went to this one, and I forgot what this cat was. Maybe some of us could remember. It was something cat. I forgot. I wish I remembered. But the funny part was when she got to this one, she goes, I don't really know. And so she wrote a question mark. I thought that was hysterical. She's like questioning. So I'm sharing the cat. Yeah, maybe it was just the cat. Yes, I think you're right. The cat. I love it. I love it. Anyway. I'm just seeing all your comments. It's time for us to go, but hopefully that got you just excited about making books and the various ways it could go. And of course, you can also do some, shared writing and whole class ones, but this was ways to just get them involved, thinking about get their fun with bookmaking. So enjoy the rest of your day.